Well, thank you so much for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. We're shifting attention to the energy sector now. Nigeria at the moment is on the verge of taking a look at the net billings regulations, of course, which is to establish a framework for eligible customers who are also known as prosumers with renewable energy systems, primarily the solar PV to self-generate electricity, export surplus power to the local distribution companies, that is the discos, and receive financial credits against their energy bills. Now, when people hear about receiving financial credit, a lot of people think if I can generate power in my one-bedroom apartment, then automatically I can be part of this. But I think there's a bigger picture. There's a greater understanding that this also needs to cascade down to the consumers or the prosumers. So we have our guests in the house this morning who will help us break this down, make us understand how this will work. We understand this is working in other African countries and they're already benefiting from this. But again, like I said, it is probably not for the small generators of powers. So how does this work and what are the systems, the positives that we can gain from this particular system? We're being joined this morning by Segun Adaju. He is the CEO, Consistent Energy Limited. He's also an alternative energy expert. Thank you for being here on the program this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back always.
So would like for you to please help us break this down to our viewers this morning. The net billing regulations, what exactly does it entail and who are those that this is really targeted at or for?
Okay, thank you very much. Early this month, I think 3rd of June, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, came up with a policy called the Net Billing Regulation. I think it's exciting for the market. I've been a proponent and I've pushed for many years what we call the net metering framework. We'll come back to that. So the net billing regulation creates an opportunity for those we call prosumers, meaning consumer and producer. So the pro is from producer, and then you are consuming. So what it means is that if I have a solar panel on my rooftop, which I do currently, I've lived in an apartment for 10 years, completely powered by solar, then there's a possibility for me to begin to export to the grid.
Okay.
And then some financial credit. I use that word, and I like that, financial credit. But there are some terms and conditions, like we say in business, T&Cs. So the idea is that number one, NERC is starting with what we call solar. Okay. But they can extend to other renewable energy technologies in the nearest future. Okay. So what the regulation says, net billing regulation, is that let's start with solar PV.
Right.
Number two, there is a cap, or there's a cap, I'll also use that word, of those that can benefit. So it starts from someone who has a solar PV on their rooftop up to what we call 50 kilowatt peak. That means your solar panel, if I add it up, capacity. Solar panel comes in 500 watts, 610, 625. If I add it up and it makes 50 kilowatt peak, then you are eligible. I'm eligible under this current framework.
Okay.
And then between 50 kilowatt peak, and there's also a cap. It says 1.5 megawatts peak.
Okay.
So that means it's not every one of us
who can benefit. Okay.
For example, now I don't qualify because my panel is now up to 50 kilowatt peak.
Absolutely.
In my house.
Okay.
They understand the reason why NERC is starting here. You need to do pilots and see how it runs.
Okay.
In other countries, in developed worlds, everyone can benefit. That's when the net metering framework can come in.
Okay.
So we're on net billing right now.
Billing at the moment, all right.
Net billing at the moment. So we see most of the potential beneficiaries as banks, commercial and industrial. I have a friend who runs a facility around Oregon here. He has 200 kilowatt peak and a potential beneficiary of net billing.
Okay.
So what happens is you are generating, that's maybe it's two conditions. The third condition is that you must be connected to a disco.
Okay.
and you are using Disco's energy. For example, I'm under band A, where I live. So potential, I must connect to a Disco.
Okay.
And then whatever I generate in excess, most time in my house, by 1 p.m., my batteries are completely charged. So the extra that is generated is wasted. So what it means is that if I have 50 kilowatt peak and I generate excess, then I can feed it. It's called exports. I can export it to the grid. Maybe Ikeja Disco, if I'm connected to Ikeja Disco. And then what I get from the grid is called import. I import energy from the grid. What we pay our, what's it called?
When you recharge
when we
your,
recharge, yes,
yes,
you
your
are importing
meter.
from the grid. So if you have extra, you can export to the grid. However, the financial credit is financial credit. It's not financial currency.
It's not physical cash.
That's why I love the word you use.
Okay.
It's financial credit at this point.
Right.
What does it mean? So I'm generating, I'm getting from the grid maybe 10, let me say 50 kilowatt hour, okay, per day, for example. And then I'm feeding my excess 30 kilowatt hour to the grid. So that means at the end of the month, I'm only going to pay 20.
Ah, okay.
Ikeja Disco, if I'm connected to Ikeja Disco, will not be paying me for the 30 kilowatts. It won't give me
Absolutely.
naira.
Okay. But you will now be recharging 20 kilowatts worth of energy.
Yes. So
okay.
It's the net that I will pay. Now, under net metering, there's what we call, okay, so another condition is that you must have a meter that is bi-directional, the one that can
receive
and send.
Take. Okay.
My current meter cannot. I'm not too sure your current meter can do that. So that means there must be a change in meter, metering system. So now that bi-directional, under net billing, that means I'm not earning any credit, I'm not earning any cash. I'm only using that to offset my bill.
Okay.
This will work very well for people who are on band A. So, I mean, the cost is high. So I'll be happy now. I mean, I'm already thinking, let me upgrade to 50 kilowatts.
Is that that you can quickly
I will wait.
Right.
And then whatever I generate from the grid, in terms of bill, I can offset. And then maybe every month, I'll have zero bill. Under net billing is only zero bill that you can have. Under net metering, you can have credit.
Okay.
Your meter can go to negative under net metering, but that's not what we are doing now. So net billing is that the maximum it can happen is that is zero. Okay. That means this month I'm not paying Ikeja. I took 50 kilowatts hour from Ikeja. I generate 50 kilowatt hour to the grid. Zero bill. If I generate 60, I will still not get the payment for the 10.
Okay.
Under net what's it called?
Billing.
The billing system.
Right.
So that's the integrated, but I think it's a very positive development.
Okay.
I mean, for over 10 years, I've been pushing for net metering framework in Nigeria. Okay. Because you go to countries and you see people, they earn money. So their meters go to negative.
Right.
And then they get paid by the Disco. I mean, if they have anything like that in those advanced countries. But currently, it's a good development. It shows that the technology is starting with solar. The cap is 50 kilowatt peak to 1.5 megawatts, and it's to test. Invariably, everyone will benefit.
Should rise as time goes on.
As time goes on. But it's a pilot that has been currently running, and it's a very good development for Nigeria.
Okay, beyond what you have stated this morning, what are the other eligibility and system requirements? Would people need to register with NERC, or how would they go about it for them to really tap into these net billing regulations of 2026 of NERC?
Okay.
And what does it portend for the energy sector generally?
Okay. So one of the conditions, the first conditions I mentioned, you must be connected to a Disco. Okay. You must already. So if I am completely off grid, meaning I'm in a location where there's no grid, I'm not connected to any Disco, I don't qualify under the net billing. Okay. So number one, I must have a relationship with a distribution company, a Disco. Okay. Number two is that...
Sorry to cut you short. For example, I remember that you said that for 10 years you haven't used electricity. But then are you still connected to any grid?
Okay, so yes, because they are still... I mean,
the cables
under grid.
Okay,
so
they're still
cables,
connected.
Yeah,
right.
but, you know, it's what's called prepaid. So it's only if I recharge that I can
Absolutely.
use. So if I don't recharge,
it will be there.
Exactly, to be there.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. I just wanted to clear that. Okay.
Yeah. So number one, you must meet your distribution company. You must. There are some agreements, some forms and rest that you have to complete with the distribution company. I will keep using Ikeja Electric because
as an example.
As an example,
close to us
of
here.
course. There are many discos in Nigeria. So I will approach Ikeja Electric, for example, and say I'm interested. I've met the condition. I have over 50 kilowatt peak on solar panel on my rooftop. I'm interested in this net billing framework. There are some documentations. There are some further conditions that they will let me know. For example, there's what we call peak period and off-peak period.
Okay.
By the regulation, the peak period is between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. It's assumed that that's when all of us will close from work, watching TV and the rest, and we consume more. And then each period has what we call export tariff factor, ETF, export tariff factor. During peak period is 0.75 per unit, 0.75. Off-peak period is 0.55. Okay, so I could be generating in the daytime and still connect to and export to the grid. But if it's out of 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., then it will be at 0.55 points to do the calculation. So then one of that condition is that there must be standard. For example, it's expected that Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, called NEMSA, will have to come and verify your equipment to ensure that it's compatible to the grid. Because one of the challenges under this framework is if there's any disruption from any system to the grid, it can collapse the grid. And I believe that's why NERC is starting with 50 kilowatts peak to 1.5 megawatts peak. Yeah.
Okay.
So once all these are certified and the rest, and then you have a meter that is bi-directional, I mean both sides, then you can sign an agreement, agree the tariff, or the credit, the financial credit calculation, whether 0.55 or 0.75, and then you're on, and you come live.
So what will be at the cost of the metering?
Okay. I'm not too sure that has been cleared yet.
Okay, let's quickly hold your thoughts on that, because again, I was also about to ask you a question about metering, but you come back to answer Jibola's question concerning metering, because NERC also did say that a bi-directional meter will be installed. So I'd like to ask you, of course, when you answer Jibola's question, but let's quickly take a break to take this commercial. When we return, our guest is still in the studio, and we will continue this conversation. Well, thank you for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, we still have Mr. Adaju in the studio this morning, and we're still talking about the implementation of the Net Billing Regulations 2026. Of course, this will be championed by the NERC. Ajibola did ask you a question earlier, talking about who will bear the cost of the meter. And then I'm just going to add here that NERC also admitted that, of course, there will be an installation of a bi-directional or net meter to ensure both electricity imported from the grid and excess electricity exported to it, work. And so will there also be, I don't know if you've also been opportune to see a test run of, this system, maybe anywhere here in Nigeria, and of course how, the workability has been adapted to the system here. So 2 questions wrapped into one for you.
Okay, let me start with the last one. I think the only system connected to solar installation that is connected to the grid, that has the capacity to feed into export to the grid, is an installation funded by JICA. JICA is the Japanese, I think, International Cooperation Agency, Japanese development partners. And it's a place called Usuma Dam in Abuja. Okay. By my own, by record that I know, that's the only system that is that's
functional
capacity.
that you've seen.
And it was on a test run. Okay. I strongly believe it was a test run. Right. Otherwise, I'm not too sure I know of any that has that capacity now. Okay. But the opportunity is here. Right. There's a room.
So we can test it.
Yeah, we can test it. Okay. And I already know. In fact, there's a project where I'm working on now for a client in Lagos, and it's 80 kilowatt peak. And we already say, hey, this is an opportunity. Let's just build in this and see how it goes. See how. Yeah, exactly. Right. I would love to test how this runs. Right. So that's that. On the issue, the net billing regulation is not specific and clear about this.
Okay, but these are questions
Yeah,
that
these
should
are questions
actually
that
be
we
answered.
should ask. Who bears the
Right.
cost? I would also ask that, I mean, currently, who bears the cost of the current meters in Nigeria?
So you have answered the question.
So maybe that's the framework.
Maybe that's the
Okay,
framework.
but
that's the framework.
what's the larger implication of this regulation for renewable energy technologies and energy security in the country?
Okay, so I think it's a very good development. One, it's going to be promoting adoption of solar PV, for example, very well, because I know ultimately it will still the band 50 kilowatt to 1.5 will be expanded, and you and I can benefit from this. So it's going to increase the uptake of what we call decentralized or distributed renewable energy systems through solar. There's a movement now that I'm also part of. It's called the solar generator movement. So you have a generator. I hope you know there's also a generator maybe powered by petrol or diesel. There's also a generator powered by solar. It's called solar generator.
Is that in Nigeria?
It's in
now?
Nigeria. So what I use in my house
Absolutely.
is a solar generator.
The same. Okay, so is that what you call the generator? The same panel on the rooftop?
Okay, so
Is
yes,
that it?
yes. So the generator has panel on the rooftop and a box. Everything is inside that box.
Okay.
Just like your generator,
Oh.
right? You can even be as big that you can also have its own wheel. But the inverter, the battery system, the balance of is in that same box. It's portable, you can carry it.
Okay.
So just put solar panel on your rooftop and plug it in.
Into
You
the
have
gen?
it. Yes.
Absolutely.
It's a generator.
Okay.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
powered by solar completely.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
No noise, no fumes, no pollution and the rest.
Oh.
So, and a lot of, I mean, some of our barbers, hairstylists that we
okay.
have, they're already using solar generators. And also, so that means it's going to promote the use of decentralized renewable energy in Nigeria. That's one. Number two, there's also what we call energy security. Currently, we have not been able to power ourselves. At best, maybe 5 or 6, we hear this all the time, 1,000 megawatts of power. It's an opportunity for the discos to also get extras, okay, into the grid. Thirdly, it will also reduce the pressure on the grid, because I will become a prosumer. That means I can produce and the same consume. So it reduces the pressure that I will put on the grid, and the grid can help to power what we call base load. Base load means industries. So that's why we have peak and off-peak.
Right.
The grid ordinarily should power industrialization, power manufacturing, power companies, producing. And then some also are consuming can rely on decentralized solar in the daytime, because mostly what I do in my house is to consume. Power my fridge, power my TV if I'm watching, power my phone, and maybe I'm not producing anything.
Right.
I mean, I'm taking this from the grid.
The grid.
This should be set aside to industrialize. That's what happens to countries, that they have a base load power that the grid provides for industrialization and manufacturing.
Okay.
So this will increase that energy security, that band. It will increase growth in the economy, because the grid might likely be used more for production instead of consumption. Absolutely.
Okay.
We expect also this to standardize quality of equipment that are deployed in terms of solar. So if I have to benefit from this regulation, I will have to meet NEMSA standard. There's what we call standard
solar
organization of
panels.
Nigeria. Yes.
Yes.
Solar panel must be to a standard. The cables that we use must be to a standard. Because NEMSA will have to come and check.
And right.
before
to,
you
to
can-
certify that
Exactly.
they can actually plug into
Exactly.
this.
So
if it's substandard or anything,
You
then
don't
they
qualify.
can definitely
Yeah.
qualify.
Right.
So where does this also put the states? Because I know that soon the states are also going to be generating their own electricity. And since we're talking about, I guess we're talking about the national grid here. So have we begin, are the states also looking into how they can tap into this? Or do you think NERC is also carrying states along with the implementation of this? Or since it's a pilot, are we still seeing where this will lead us to as a country before we start thinking of how states can also plug in?
absolutely very great question. It's also a question that I've been pondering on, because a couple of states, and since I'm in Lagos, we're in Lagos right now, let's also use Lagos state government.
Right.
Many of these states are also developing what we call their own electricity markets.
Right.
Because a regulation,
Electricity Act.
Electricity Act has allow that.
Domesticated.
Yes, I've also had the very rare privilege of engaging with Lagos State, thanks to the Honorable Commissioner Energy and Mineral Resources, Mr. Abiodun Ogunleye. I've engaged with him, and I know he has this vision. Even immediately he got into office, he's been thinking about and talking about net metering. How can this be done? So I'm also very sure that states will begin to position themselves for this. Right. Develop their own regulation. So what we have is net billing regulation. Who knows? I'm aware that Lagos State's conversation around net metering regulation is already ongoing. So I believe states will prepare for this. So at some point, it will be now between the states and national. NERC. And there are provisions, even in the Electricity Act, to agree where there are agreements that need to be made, what should take precedence over the other. Yeah. Okay, so at the end of the day, what kind of competition is this going to create? That's on one side. And then earlier, you mentioned the fact that solar panels will be inspected to ensure that they meet the requirements before they can tap into the national grid. I've seen a couple of times wherein people install solar panels on their roofs and it catches fire. What are the factors responsible for this? Okay, thank you very much. It's also some incidences that gets back to us as players in the market. I'm a member of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. I was a pioneer president, and we get this feedback all the time. Solar panel causes fire, and then it's a challenge. But solar panels of good quality, and interestingly, most of the incidents that has happened were not actually caused by the panels. Agreed, there are substandard products everywhere. I mean, virtually every sector in Nigeria has some level of substandard products, including renewable energy. But what we found out is that it's either the cabling systems. So maybe somebody who is supposed to use a 10 mm, those are terms they use, 10 mm cable, is now using a 4 mm cable that cannot carry the bandwidth of the energy, and then it melts and fire erupts. And then when fire erupts from there, then it catches on everywhere, and the one you see outside is the solar that is burning.
Absolutely. Yes. So you just assume.
Yeah, you assume that, it's the solar, is burning. So at times, most times, substandard accessories, poor quality of installation. I mean, I've also been pushing, and I also want to cite an example of Lagos State government. I know there are plans to say, look, in some other countries, particularly Kenya, or for example, Kenya, you can't just jump out and say, I am a solar installer. That's what's happening here in Nigeria now. Yeah, everybody claims to be an installer. One guy organizes a 1 week training, and then you say you're an installer. No. Right. And, there are certification. You must be certified. Right. You must have gone through the training, and then you are certified to do the installation. And then you do quality installation. So it will improve the standard, because if I don't meet NEMSA regulation, for example, now I can't connect, become a prosumer. Yeah. So we expect the standards to be improved. We expect also regulation should be in place to say, look, if you are not certified to be an installer, so there's what we call NEMSA certification, there's current, and all the rest. Get that certification before you can become an installer. Once you achieve that, then, I mean, all these fire incidences are honestly very rare in other countries, because quality is deployed.
Okay, so for anything that has a beginning, you would also try to factor in if there could also be some issues at the end of the day. So again, do you think there are protections in place to ensure consumers receive fair compensation for power supplied to the grid? Because I know that earlier you mentioned, of course, how these things are calculated, and if you use a particular amount of kilowatts, and then you should probably just do the shortfall at the end of the month. But how do we ensure that Team A and Team B are treated fairly when it comes to calculations, when it comes to you getting back the value for what you send to the grid? And are there times that, for example, maybe the weather isn't favorable and you're not able to send to the grid? will there be a shortfall if you do not meet up, or once you have excess, then you can send in? But if you do not have, would you be penalized for not sending at a particular point in time? I'm just asking, so we're sure that, you know, all of the T's are dotted and I's crossed.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no penalty if you don't have an excess to export to the grid.
Okay.
You just don't get the financial credit.
Absolutely.
That's it. So no penalty.
Right.
But if you have excess and you can export to the grid, then you have a credit.
Okay.
So no, that's that. Then the issue of compensation and fairness
right.
under the net billing regulation is already clear. Maybe when we get to net metering, where money is involved now, I'm expecting money from Ikeja. I'll say, is it up to the amount I'm expecting? Under the net billing, there is already a tariff I am paying, maybe 220 or 208, whatever.
Right.
Whatever I'm exporting to the grid will also be on that basis of tariff computation.
Okay.
So instead of me paying for 50 kilowatts hour, I'm paying for 20. It will be at that tariff. So the net off of that 30 is still at the same tariff that instead of me paying at that exact, right. So it's fair enough.
Okay.
Although the issue now is, and it's also clear by the regulation, the issue will be, when did I export to the grid? Is it peak period or off peak?
Okay,
the
so you have to be able to measure at that particular point in time.
And the regulation has also stated clearly that between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. is the peak. So I know between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. is peak. But unfortunately,
I might not be able to give anything
I mean, the sun at that time, Lagos has maybe 4,
yeah.
There's what we call peak sun hours. Maybe 4 or 4.5 peak sun hours when the sun is good and generates power. But I can have a battery backup that I can export to the grid on that basis, right? So it's fair enough. There's no controversy.
Right.
And when it gets to net metering, I think even the multi-year tariff order framework to calculate tariff will also kick in, and everybody you'll be clear. You know what you've
used and what you
at the end of the month by the number of negative on your meter under net metering anyway.
Okay, I know by this regulation now, most Nigerians will be interested in installing solar panels in their homes. So, as it stands today, what is the cost implication of installing a solar panel that will have that capacity as required by NERC?
Okay, so interesting. So the minimum capacity is 50 kilowatt peak. Let me just do a rule of thumb and say, so we're doing an 80. How much is it costing us now? Let me just say 50 million. Let me assume
50 million.
Let me say 1 for 1. Yes. Okay.
So you see why it is not for everybody.
Okay. Yes. You see, for the I'm assuming
that big boys.
A 50 kilowatt peak, based on subject to plus or minus anyway, based on of course the panel is 50 kilowatts peak. There will be inverter size, there will be battery size, there will be balance of system, there will be cabling, and the rest. I'm just assuming.
Right.
The plus or minus, it should be very close to that 50 million. That's why we're saying this pilot phase is not everyone.
Okay.
But as time goes by.
As time goes on. I can tell you there are many prosumers already. I'm telling you, I mean, there's one 80 kilowatt peak already that we already designed.
I'm sure that's a company.
Yes, the company. So this net billing most likely favors companies.
Okay.
There's what we call commercial and industrial. Right. C&I installation is different from rooftop solar. Okay. What I have is rooftop. It's not commercial and industrial. In fact, I'm thinking, do I even need 50 kilowatt peak in there?
For what? What do you need it for?
I don't need it.
But I think this is also deliberate on the part of NERC to start with, the commercials or the industrial, because again, they're spending money, so there should be a give back to them one way or the other. So for, of course, the families who would come at a later time when everybody is fine and when the system is, good to go. But I think it will also be nice if you mention, again, we've been mentioning net billing and net metering. And some people will ask, what exactly is the difference between net billing and net metering?
Okay, so net billing is, as we've discussed,
explained,
no cash outlay, no cash payments from my disco. What it means is that it's going to affect my bill. Whatever I generate and whatever I produce and export, the difference is what I get to pay.
Right.
And then in a scenario where I don't generate, of course, I pay the full price of what I have consumed.
Right.
And if I also generate more than necessary, the excess is not going to be paid for by the disco. That's net billing. So it's around the bills that this implication is on. Okay.
Right.
But for net metering, is clear that, look, in some countries, I mean, some of my friends are out of Nigeria. They are into real estate, not principal, of course, renting or selling is also a revenue. But the principal reason why they are on real estate, is to take the roof, generate power, and sell to the grid and collect money.
Okay.
Oh, so that's metering.
Yeah, that's metering. Net metering
So
framework.
they generate and they sell,
Yes, they sell
to the discos or
Exactly,
wherever they are
exactly.
called.
And they get
so
cash.
this is not about an individual or about, so for them it's business.
Yeah, it's business.
It's okay.
And you
All
know,
right.
the Electricity Act also has provided for that.
Okay.
That, I mean, you can generate, distribute, transmit, and sell energy. I hope you know that.
Absolutely,
As an individual, under the Act. So this is a build-up to the full implementation of the Act. And I also say, a few of my friends, or many people say, oh, why is it out of 50 kilowatt peak, 50 million? I say, no. You have to test run something first. I support NERC to say, let's start from 50 kilowatt peak to 1.5 megawatt and see how it runs. Okay. And then we can democratize after that.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So as we wrap up this conversation this morning, what are some of the things that you'd expect NERC to tighten on during this implementation or during this pilot phase, so that it won't be too long before every Nigerian will be able to benefit from this particular system?
Okay. 3 quick things I'll just mention. Number 1 is standard, the quality standard in partnership with all the organizations around standard, NEMSA, SON, and the rest. Standardize during this pilot phase. Okay. Standardize the process.
Right.
Okay. Even, I mean, the products and also the process. So it's clear. How do if I want to become a prosumer now, by the time it comes to my level, what is the process?
So it's not some system for other people, another system.
No,
it has to be general.
It must be general.
Okay.
It must be general. Number 2 is awareness. So this is an opportunity to begin to create a lot of awareness for people to understand what this is all about, the value, the capacity of solar, what you can benefit in the medium or long term when it's fully for everyone. And basically, those are critical things that I would say we need to have, of course, also certification to ensure that it's the right set of people,
not quacks.
Not quacks, in terms of the technology that you are going to be deploying. And the framework is already there that, look, NEMSA must come and certify what you have done. There's a project in this Lagos also that I was part of, the 200 kilowatt peak. And I already have good opportunity. I'm already going to be discussing with them. They have an opportunity. You know?
Okay. But your association, are you also tapping into this fully?
Oh, yes. A commendable efforts, Renewable Nigerian of Nigeria, Mr. President. We have a new president now. Doing good job to ensure this awareness, quality, and yeah.
All right. A fine place to leave this conversation this morning. Thank you so much, Shegun Adaju, CEO, Consistent Energy Limited, who is also an alternative energy expert, for helping us break this down and creating a better understanding of how this will work. I'm sure that majority of Nigerians are waiting for when, everybody who has a solar panel on their rooftop will be able to benefit from this particular billing system. Again, we say thank you for coming.
Pleasure.
All right, that's the much we take on the side of the table this morning. We will take a quick break. When the conversation returns, Adebimpe will be here with her Lagos conversation.